You may or may not know that we have actually 3 African Americans now that represent us in Congress. Colin Allred, Jasmine Crockett, and Mark Vesey, who's in Fort Worth, but represents a part of the Dallas area. So we have all the power as African Americans, frankly, that we need. When you begin to think about cities around here and the school districts around here, you have African American representation on all these boards and in all of these positions. And so we have more power now than we've ever had in the history of Dallas County. And the question is how we're going to use it.
Hey y'all, I'm Leilani Wilson Jones, a Texas mogul with businesses throughout the state of Texas. And this is the show where we're spilling the tea on the bosses that I know.
It's time for Big Texas Bossin with Leilani Wilson Jones. Spilling the tea on Bossin Up.
It was phenomenal to see a black man win the Democratic Party national presidential nomination for our country. I had never seen that and witnessed where a black man had the opportunity to realistically be president. And at the time, I really didn't think Obama would win. Yes, I voted for Obama. Yes, I was up for a black president. But the reality during those times, we had just come off of a high on the Clinton years, and we had went into a low with Bush. So it was like, I don't know. Because he was black, that was the only thing that I thought would hold him back. I knew he was overqualified to be president. I knew he had the execution skills that he needed to be a world leader, and I was honored to vote for him. That was a voting experience. Like, I didn't have to debate whether or not I wanted to go vote. It was a voting experience that I was actually eager to participate in on election day. You know, a lot of times I'll go vote early now and, you know, just let it be whatever it is and not really get in the momentum of things. But that was the time where I wanted to be a part of the Democratic National Party. I just didn't have the time to join. And I wanted to be a part of the things that were going on around his election. So politicians are politicians, but you've got some that are the exception. And today on my show, I'm honored to have Senator Royce West from the state of Texas. Thank you, Senator Royce West, for joining us today.
My pleasure.
All right. We'll just jump right in because you don't need a big introduction. Tell us a little bit about who you are and how you've served the Dallas community for almost 30 years.
Well, I'm an attorney by profession, and I've been practicing law in Texas for 42 years now, in the state courts, the federal courts, Supreme Court, and then I have been a senator for 30 years. And so I'm graduated from Wilmer Hutchins High School here in Dallas, and attended the University of Texas at Arlington, where I received my bachelor's and master's degree, and then attended the University of Houston School of Law.
Awesome. Wonderful. And I had a chance to see you speak in Houston at Texas Southern at a graduation. You did an awesome job when my son graduated. Let's talk about some of the initiatives that are on the table for the state of Texas and for Dallas County that will specifically impact your audience.
Well, I think that when you just kind of look at, we're getting ready to enter into the 88th legislative session. And so what that means is that the second week in January, we will convene in the 88th legislative session. So the question is, what issues are going to be discussed? Well, let me give you a perspective before I get into the issues. The fact is that the state of Texas is under Republican control. And what that means essentially is that more Republicans voted than Democrats. Let me say that one more time. More Republicans voted than Democrats. And so they will make certain that their agenda is number one. And what is their agenda? Their agenda is going to be property tax cuts, which I agree with 100%. But as you have seen over the course of these many weeks, we've had a lot of discussions at local school districts or school board meetings concerning what books students can be in libraries at schools. And so there'll be more and more discussion concerning CRT, critical race theory related issues, and you can be assured that they will use that particular issue in order to pass legislation. You know also that there's issues concerning women's reproductive rights, women being able to kind of determine what their health care is going to be. Well, given the fact that most women did or did not vote and Republicans won the election, you can be assured there'll be a hardening of that type of legislation. Criminal justice legislation, we wanted to make certain that we had a leadership in the state of Texas that was sensitive to passage of the George Floyd Act, because we weren't able to do that last time around. And so we don't have that, but we're going to still push an agenda for criminal justice reform. I can go on and on and on about the different issues that we're going to be facing during this next legislative session.
What's your favorite and what are you most passionate about?
Well, I mean, I'm most passionate about education and higher education. When you begin to think about over these years that I've served as a state senator, I've been able to, in the education arena, I've been able to pass a law to create the first public university in the city of Dallas, the University of North Texas at Dallas. Not only did we pass that law, and it's now over 4,000 students at that university, I've also passed a law creating the first public law school in Dallas, which is the University of North Texas at Dallas College of Law. I've been very involved with Texas Southern, Purview, and other historically black colleges in terms of providing funding and, needless to say, financial aid opportunities.
That's awesome. Tell us what you see for future college students. What can they expect out of legislation?
Well, I tell you what, let me just say this. If you live in the 23rd Senatorial District, what is the 23rd Senatorial District? If you live in Dallas, I'll just put it like that, or Duncanville, DeSoto cities in the south, Grand Prairie to the west, Arlington, Mesquite, those areas, then in all probability you're the 23rd Senatorial District. Over these years that I've served as your senator, I've been able to create an internship program called the Dr. M.J. Conrad program. And what we do is provide internships during the summertime, paid internships during the summertime. And so I want to make certain we continue that program. That program, you can go on the internet to M.J. Conrad Leadership Program and get information about how you can sign up. And now is the time to sign up in order to be a part of the class in 2023. So we'll continue to do that. I'll continue to make certain that we provide as much money as possible for financial aid, because we know that financial aid is the key to being able to not only go to college, but to stay in college. I want to make sure I also expand the work study programs that we have at our universities where you can work on campus and off campus.
All right, that sounds like a daunting task to make sure that we're all still up to speed and continue to educate our community so that we can be better leaders in the future.
Well, I mean, the reality is that when you begin to look at educational attainment, if you graduate from high school and don't further your education, you can be assured that, yes, you'll probably be able to get a job, but the more education you have, the better opportunities you're going to have, and that directly correlates with your ability to make money.
Absolutely. What else do we need to know that's coming up?
Well, I mean, the session's coming up. Of course, we have a new congressperson. Jasmine Crockett is replacing Eddie Bernice Johnson as the congressperson in the 30th Congressional District. You may or may not know that we have actually 3 African Americans now that represent us in Congress. Colin Allred, Jasmine Crockett, and Mark Vesey, who's in Fort Worth, but represents a part of the Dallas area. So we have all the power as African Americans, frankly, that we need. When you begin to think about cities around here and the school districts around here, you have African American representation on all these boards and in all of these positions. And so we have more power now than we've ever had in the history of Dallas County. And the question is how we're going to use it. And so I'm hoping that we will redouble our efforts in order to make certain that, number one, we establish what our priorities are, which I believe is going to be economic development, and criminal justice reform, and education. We redouble our efforts to make certain that the monies that come as a result of the budgets that are being appropriated, that we have those monies put into some of the programs that we know will make a difference in our community.
Absolutely. And when we talk about redevelopment, what are we doing on the southern sector to see the city grow?
Well, here's the deal. We're beginning to see more interest in the southern sector. Now, interest is one thing. Action is altogether something different. Out by UNT Dallas, we're about to see the development of I think a 200 addition home development out there. And at the UNT Dallas, we're getting ready to build a science building there. I was able to get about $100 million from the legislature to put down in terms of developing a new school of science. And hopefully as a result of that, we'll see more students getting into the sciences, be it as pharmacists or optometrists or things of that nature, working very closely with Paul Quinn College to make certain that it continues to grow, and it is growing under the leadership of Mike Sorrell and at that college, and Bob Mung at UNT Dallas. In terms of economic development, there's about listen to me very closely now, $300 billion, excuse me, $3 billion, let me put it that way, of development that's going on in our hospital district between UT Southwestern and also Children's Hospital, as well as probably $1 billion or $2 billion worth of construction work that's going to be going on at the convention center. So there's a lot of business going on, and it's incumbent upon us as leaders to make certain that African Americans get their fair share of those dollars.
Absolutely. Talk to us a little bit about the Democratic Party and where we need to be in terms of gathering the people to vote so that we do have the voices that we need representing us.
Well, here's the problem with the Democratic Party. Our messaging. We allow the Republican Party to continue to out-message us. And so we've got to change that narrative. We've got to make certain that we are putting people up for office that, frankly, are not on the fringes. There's no way in the world a person in Texas, a candidate in Texas, is going to win a statewide office being on the fringes, okay? You can't sit up and say that I want to defund the police. By the way, I'm not for defunding the police. I want to be able to pick up the telephone. If I need a police officer to come to my house or my business, I want them to come. Now, do we need continue to reorganize police departments? Yes, and I've done that. When you begin to look at the issue concerning body cameras, I was the first person in the state of Texas to pass a law requiring body cameras, dash cameras. I put in place a lot of reforms concerning Community Education Act. When you take your driver's license test, you'll find that you have to know about some of the do's and don'ts as it relates to interaction with police. Police, when they are when they're in the academy, they have to know some of the do's and don'ts as it relates to interaction with citizens. And we put all of that in, check this out, the traffic manual book that you have to study in order to get your driver's license. So it's all in there. And so we continue to do those types of things in order to make certain that we institutionalize as Democrats, things that we believe citizens need to know about. But we've got to change the narrative. We can't talk about just issues concerning defunding the police as an example in criminal justice. We got to continue to look at developing coalitions based on interest, not only in criminal justice reform, but also making certain that in education, economic development, and those other areas. And Democrats have to do that. We can't be the party that sits up and says that we're not for property tax relief, when in fact, most Democrats are for property tax relief. You want your property tax reduced?
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I'm talking about, okay?
Definitely.
Altruist Home Care Solutions is one of the top accredited home health care agencies servicing North and East Texas. With over 25 years of caring for Texas families, Altruist's network of staff has become the preferred provider of physical and occupational therapy, wound, post-surgery, and primary care within the comfort of your home. Altruist Home Health Care works in conjunction with you, your loved ones, and your primary care physician to provide stellar care with honor and integrity. For more information on our services, visit our website www.altruisthhc.com or call us at 214-328-8600. Now back to the show.
All right. Tell us a little bit about any socially relevant topics that you'd like to bring up.
Very good question. I mean, the fact is this. Let me ask you this question. What state has the most black folks in it, population-wise? Does anyone know?
No.
Texas!
Oh, really?
There are more black people in the state of Texas than any other state in this country.
Now, that's a fun fact we didn't know.
Okay? And so I would say to young people that are about trying to find their voice, to be involved as much as possible. If you don't know how to get involved, contact me. That's one of the reasons I'm here today. You know, I try to find every venue possible to make sure we get the word out. If you want to get involved in civic pursuits, be it at the local, state, or federal level, contact me. It's important that you learn, number one, how to vote, get educated on what the facts are, and go out and vote. You may say, well, I don't know all these people. Well, you won't know all of them because there'll be 3 or 4 pages in some elections that there's no way in the world you're going to know all. But you can know what they stand for by going to different types of political functions, be they Democrat or Republican. I'm a Democrat, so come to my Democratic functions, and getting information that way. I have internships in my law office where we have young people who are interested in becoming lawyers or being involved in politics, that we have 2 or 3 every semester. And so there are those opportunities not only in my office, but in other offices also. So you do those things. You know, what I found is this. Many students involved in student council at high schools and middle schools are the students that really have an interest in many instances and get involved in government. The fact is, at Pearl C. Anderson Junior High School, when I was in the 7th grade, was the first time I ever ran for a quote-unquote political office. I lost, but the fact is I learned a lot from that experience. And as a result of that, I was able to go on and become president of the student body at the University of Texas at Arlington. And then I ran for district attorney. And now I'm a state senator, and I've been a state senator for the past 30 years. So there are avenues of involvement. You've just got to make sure that you find them. And don't stop just because you may get disappointed at one juncture because somebody said, no, I can't provide you this opportunity. You've got to keep on pursuing those opportunities, and ultimately you'll be successful.
Right. How do you balance that, the law office and your senatorial responsibilities?
Well, a good question, and I've been fortunate for these many years to be able to do that. I've got good partners, and we have offices in Dallas, Houston, and Fort Worth. Now, I've got a problem right now, and the problem is that some of my law partners are becoming judges. Okay, which is it's flattering. But again, you've got to find persons to replace them. And so we're in the process of doing that. The good thing is I've had partners these many years that are responsible, competent in terms of what they do. And frankly, they know when they need to call me and make certain I have input into their decision-making process. So it balances out that way.
How long will you continue to serve? What's next?
Well, I mean, right now I feel pretty good. Okay, and so I didn't have anyone to run against me last time. Hopefully, next time they won't run either. That's right, I plan on running again. Okay, at least one more time.
You heard that here first on Big Texas Bossin. That is awesome. What do you say to the aspiring politician?
Well, first of all, you don't need to be a politician. You need to be a public servant. Politicians get in trouble because it's the reality is it's hard for them to take a stance because in many instances they're trying to figure out which way the wind is blowing. Be a public servant. If you're a public servant and you're down to earth, then you'll be successful. You'll be able to keep your finger on the pulse in the community. And that's what, sometimes I feel as though I don't have my finger on the pulse in the community. That's why I need to make certain I know some influencers, okay, to make certain that I'm able to keep my pulse on what's happening in the community. If you're doing that and you're a regular person, and I like to play dominoes. And so I say to all of you out there to think you are domino players, to make certain you contact me, and I'll see whether or not I can teach you some lessons in terms of playing dominoes. I mean, the fact is, the point of making is, I try to be down to earth. Yes, I am a state senator, but I've been Royce all my life, a paper boy from the Projects East Dallas, and I continue to be that same person, just a little older, and maybe I have gained a few more pounds in terms of my weight. And the first time I voted was with my mom. Okay, I didn't. She's let's go vote. All right, I said fine. I didn't know what I was doing. I frankly didn't know. I can't even recall who was on the ballot. I just voted like my mother voted. Okay, and I have not missed an election since the first time I voted. Even if I was out of the city, at school, at the University of Houston or Arlington was easy because it's right down the street. I've always voted. And so I encourage you to do the same thing. And it's just like anything else, repetition, until you get to a point where you finally understand the significance of the actions that you're taking as it relates to its impact on persons that represent you. And you want to make sure you have input into the decision-making process. You can't have input into the decision-making process if you don't participate, okay? And so that's why it's important, young people who are looking at this podcast, listening to this podcast, that you understand the significance of the act that you participate in when you're voting.
Are you going to help get some money for the Juneteenth Museum?
In Fort Worth, you mean?
Yes. Are you going to help her? She needs $85 million. And she's
am I
only
going to
got
help?
50. Mm-hmm.
As much as I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, hopefully, openly, who I've known for a long time. Okay. In fact, I helped her get. We did something down the state. I mean, I've helped Opal over these many years. So the answer to the question is yes.
Okay.
And she knows. I mean, she calls on me all the time. Here's a big thing though. We're going to two things that I should mention. Hopefully, put this on camera when you get out there. If you are a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, this is for you. The fact is this: there are no buildings, state buildings, in Austin named after African Americans in the history of the state of Texas. Last legislative session, 87th legislative session, Representative Cheryl Cole, who is a Delta, and Royce West, who is an Omega, we were able to pass a resolution naming the first building after Barbara Jordan. That building will have a grand opening on we'll cut the ribbon open the building on December the 12th, 2022. That will be the first building ever named after an African American. Secondly, when you begin to look at the different portraits in the Senate, you don't see a lot of African Americans. The only African American picture in there is Barbara Jordan. Well, guess whose picture will be hanging in there effective this legislative session? Opal Lee. We are unveiling her portrait in the Senate, and that picture will be there forever and ever.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. We had the opportunity to interview her about 2 weeks ago, so wonderful.
If you're a college student, okay, what we try to do is going back, here's the basis of what I'm about to say. Let me give you the predicate. When I was in college, I worked at General Motors, LTV, a lot of different places, but I never was able to get experience in the areas that I was studying in college. And so what we try to do now is if a student wants to be a doctor, as an example, we try to match that student up with an internship during the summertime where they can kind of figure out whether or not that's what they want to do, whether it's at Parkland, or one of the hospitals, or even the medical school here, okay? So we try to match students up with their major to make certain that they're sure that's what they want to do. And what ends up happening invariably is that they're able to get that, take the theory in the classroom and apply it to their work experiences during the summertime, which makes them a totally better student altogether. We're even at the point now where interns that are alums now are in elected office. Eddie Brown is now the constable. Dominique Torres Williams is a judge. We have a federal judge. I mean, a lot of those students have gone on, and as a result of the internships that they had to be a part of their foundation, they've been very successful. I put the Conrad Internship Program. The person who manages that program at UNT Dallas is a product of the Conrad Internship Program. She went on and got a PhD in education, and now she's the director of the program.
Okay. Did you always know that you wanted to be in law? As
No.
your career path?
No, not really. I'll tell you a story. I took the bar back in 1979. Okay, that same summer I was at the University of Houston, and so that was the same summer that the Houston Oilers and was letting everybody try out for their football team. I figured myself a pretty good football player, so I had to make a decision whether or not I was going to go try out for that football team, or whether I was going to study for the bar. Well, you know what I did? I studied for the bar, and it was the right decision to make at that time because I was able to pass the bar. Got my bar results back on Halloween. Okay, some people got tricked, others got treated. Okay, and so I got treated, and as a result of becoming a lawyer, I was able to represent athletes. You may or may not remember when Michael Irvin was in trouble. I represented him. Carter High School, when Carter High School was going through a bunch of mess back in the 80s, I was one of the lawyers on that particular program. So I made the right decision, and as a result of being a lawyer, I still have been able to be kind of close to athletics, be it football, basketball, whatever the case may be.
Where can our listeners go to learn more about you, your company, and everything that you're involved with?
Well, I've got to make certain that I say something about the law firm. The name of the law firm is West and Associates. And again, we're in Dallas, Houston, and Fort Worth. You can reach us, though, at 214-941-1881. 214-941-1881. If it's a Senate matter, you can reach me at 214-467-0123.
And tell us what the law firm's specialty is.
We have been able to develop a reputation in family law, criminal law, commercial litigation, personal injury, property taxes, school law, and also public finance.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Thank you for being here today. Thanks for tuning in to Big Texas Bossin Podcast. If you like these conversations, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on all social media platforms at Big Texas Bossin. Tag us on social at #BTB.